Have you ever felt something shifting deep inside you, but you couldn't explain it? You're still waiting on your dua. Your life hasn't changed, but somehow you have. You're crying more, praying more, feeling a strange closeness to Allah, even when nothing around you makes sense. That pull you feel, that gentle, quiet invitation back to your Lord, it's not random, it's not you losing your mind. It might just be the most beautiful sign that Allah is already answering your dua in ways your heart is only just beginning to understand. Stay with me, because what you're feeling right now might be the answer you've been waiting for. You feel calm, even if life hasn't changed. Before, you were restless, worried, always waiting for the next thing to go wrong. But now, you still don't have all the answers. But for some reason, your heart feels still, not perfect, but peaceful, not loud, but safe. This is not random. It's Allah placing calm in your chest before the storm ends. When Allah gives you inner peace, it's one of the first signs that your dua is unfolding. Not around you, but inside you. The wrong people are quietly leaving. You've been asking Allah for peace, for calm, for relief. You asked Him to remove what was heavy from your heart. You asked Him to guide you to what's good for your soul. And instead of things getting easier, something strange started happening. People began to leave, slowly, quietly, without warning. A friend you used to talk to every day stopped responding. Someone you thought would always be there suddenly grew distant. A connection that once felt unbreakable now feels faded, gone. At first, you didn't understand. It felt like loss. It felt like rejection. You wondered if you did something wrong. But then, something even more surprising happened. Your heart felt lighter. Your thoughts felt clearer. You didn't miss the drama. You didn't miss the noise. You began to realize maybe what left wasn't meant to stay. And that's when you understand. Sometimes Allah answers your dua not by adding something to your life, but by subtracting. Because not every presence is peaceful. Not every relationship is healthy. Not every friendship is a blessing. Some people stay in your life long enough to teach you. Others stay just long enough to test you. But when Allah wants to make space for your growth, He starts removing what's holding you back. You see, it's hard to climb if you're carrying what's weighing you down. That friend who always made you doubt yourself. That person who pulled you further from your Deen. That group that drained your energy, distracted your focus, and blurred your boundaries. Maybe their absence is not a loss. Maybe it's a mercy. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A person is upon the religion of their close friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends." Tirmidhi. So if Allah took someone out of your life, even if it hurt, even if it was sudden, maybe it was an answer to a dua you forgot you made. Maybe you once asked Him for peace, and now the noise has left. Maybe you asked Him for clarity, and now the confusion has disappeared with the person who caused it. We often pray for strength, but Allah gives it by removing our dependencies. We ask for better company, but sometimes that begins with being alone for a while. Because He doesn't just give, He clears, He protects, He prepares. And sometimes that preparation starts with people walking away. Not because you're unworthy, but because your worth is rising. Because the next chapter of your life requires different surroundings, different energy, a cleaner path. So if you've recently experienced people exiting your life, don't panic, don't chase, don't beg for what Allah is removing. Instead say, "Ya Allah, thank you for protecting me from what I couldn't see. Thank you for ending what I was too afraid to let go of. Thank you for taking what I didn't know was blocking the blessing I prayed for." Because what feels like rejection might actually be redirection. What feels like abandonment might actually be elevation. Allah does not remove without reason. He removes to make room. and what's coming may require more space than you expected. So breathe, let go, and trust. If someone walked away after you made dua for peace, maybe that was Allah saying, your peace begins here. You keep being pulled towards worship again. You didn't schedule this change. You didn't set a timer and decide, today I'll cry in sujood. But lately, something in you has shifted, and you don't know why. You feel this quiet pull, a soft longing that wraps around your heart like a whisper. It comes at random moments, in the silence of night, in the middle of a drive, while you're doing something ordinary, and suddenly your eyes fill with tears. You're remembering Allah more, not because someone told you to, but because your soul is craving it. The Quran feels different now. The words hit deeper. You hear an ayah you've heard 1,000 times, and this time it stops you. It's like the verse was waiting for your heart to be ready. You're praying more, and even when your salah isn't perfect, you're showing up, you're trying, you're staying in sujood longer, not because of routine, but because your forehead feels safest on the ground, because when the world doesn't make sense, that place still does. You repent more. You remember your past mistakes, not with guilt that paralyzes, but with humility that purifies. You weep, not just out of shame, but because you feel the mercy that's been waiting for you all along. You don't understand it completely. You're not sure what started it. You just feel it. You feel the pull back to Allah. And here's the truth most people don't realize. That pull, that soft voice in your chest telling you to come back, that's not your willpower. That's not motivation. That's not just emotion. That's a response from the one who heard your dua. That's Allah turning to you before you even fully turn to Him. Because sometimes the way Allah answers your prayer isn't by fixing your problem first. It's by fixing your direction, by redirecting your heart back to where peace lives, with Him. You might still be waiting for something outward to change, but inwardly, something sacred is already blooming. You stop chasing what the world says you should want. You stop needing loud things to feel alive. You stop trying to impress people who don't even see your soul. Instead, you want to be alone with your Lord. You want quiet moments after Salah. You want to raise your hands again and whisper, Ya Allah, I don't even know what I need, but I know it's you. That kind of moment, that kind of pull, it's not small. It's everything. It's the kind of nearness that heals before anything is fixed. It's the kind of mercy that meets you when you're still unsure. It's Allah saying, I heard you, and before I change your life, I want to change your heart. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, when Allah intends good for someone, He gives him understanding in the religion. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. So if lately you've been drawn to dhikr, to prayer, to reflection, to tears you can't fully explain, then please understand, you're not just being emotional, you're being realigned, you're being washed, you're being responded to in the most sacred way, by being brought back to the one you were always meant to return to, even if you don't have the answers yet, even if your dua still feels unanswered, even if nothing around you has changed. The fact that your soul is waking up, the fact that your heart feels the pull again, the fact that your eyes are softening again, that is a sign, a beautiful divine quiet sign, that Allah is already answering you, not through what you receive, but through who you're becoming. You're getting opportunities you didn't chase. Sometimes the answer to your dua doesn't come through something you planned. It doesn't knock with warning. It doesn't come with signs saying, this is it. It just happens, quietly, naturally. And yet, it feels too perfect to be random. You weren't searching, you didn't even expect it. But one day, an email shows up, a phone call comes through. Someone mentions your name in the right room. And suddenly, a door opens that you didn't even knock on. A job, an invitation, a connection, a yes you never asked for, but your heart knows you needed. This is not luck. This is divine placement. You see, when you made that heartfelt dua, when your hands were raised in sujood, your voice low, your heart trembling, Allah was listening, even when you thought your words were too broken to be heard. And sometimes Allah answers not by sending what you asked for immediately, but by guiding your steps to what is better. He moves things behind the scenes. He places people in your path. He writes conversations before you have them. He turns someone's heart to remember you at the right time. This is how your dua works. It moves silently through the unseen, until it shows up as an opportunity that you didn't chase but was chasing you. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that what reaches you was never meant to miss you, and what misses you was never meant to reach you. So when something good comes into your life out of nowhere, don't just say, "Wow, what a coincidence." Say, "Alhamdulillah," because that blessing has a backstory, written by the one who knew what you needed before you could even speak it. And if nothing has arrived yet, if your door still feels closed, don't think your dua was ignored. Maybe the opening is already on its way. Maybe it's being timed with perfection. Maybe the job, the person, the shift is already moving towards you at a pace that protects your heart and prepares your soul. Because when Allah answers, He doesn't just give, He gives when it's best. He gives how it's best, and He gives in a way that reminds you. You were never forgotten. You're losing things that no longer serve you. You asked Allah for ease, for peace, for strength, for clarity, and then something you thought you couldn't live without was taken from you. Maybe it was a friend you trusted, a relationship you invested in, a plan you held onto with both hands, a habit that gave you comfort, a dream you built in your mind over and over again. And when it left, it hurt, not just on the surface, but deep, like something inside you was being peeled away. You cried, you questioned, you asked why ease came in the form of loss. How can this be mercy when it feels like breaking? But that's the thing, growth rarely feels like comfort. It feels like being stretched, like being emptied, like being undone, just enough for something new to begin. You see, Allah doesn't just answer your dua by giving. Sometimes He answers it by taking away. Not to punish you, not to hurt you, but to protect you from the things that were slowly pulling you away from who you were meant to become. That toxic relationship you kept justifying, gone. That unhealthy habit you kept falling back on, it's harder to return to now. That plan that kept failing no matter how hard you tried, collapsed so you could finally rest. This isn't failure, this is redirection. Allah, in His divine wisdom, sees what we can't. He sees how that friend would have broken your spirit, how that shortcut would have ruined your character, how that desire would have distracted your soul. So what does He do? He clears your path. He empties your hands. He takes what no longer serves your journey, so your heart has room to receive something far better. It doesn't feel like a blessing at first, but later, when you look back, you'll realize, if I had kept holding on to what I wanted, I would have missed what I needed. Let go. Grieve if you must, but then trust. Because the moment Allah removes something from your life, it's a silent sign He's making space, and He only makes space when He's about to place something greater. You're suddenly more grateful for the small things. You've been praying for something big, for a major change, for a new chapter. You've cried in sujood, whispered in the silence of your room, and waited with your heart wide open, hoping maybe this time it will come. But instead of the big breakthrough, something else began to change. And it didn't feel grand. It didn't make the noise of a miracle, it made the stillness of a heart returning home. You started noticing things you used to ignore. The way the sky looks after Asr, the way your mother's voice sounds when she prays softly, the peace in your chest after Fajr, even if you're still tired, the warmth of a clean room, the taste of water when you break your fast. Tiny things, things that come and go without announcement. But this time, your soul paused. This isn't by accident. This is not just becoming more mature. This is not just you changing. This is Allah softening your heart. And that softening is a response. You see, when you asked for ease, when you begged for strength, when you pleaded for peace, sometimes the very first thing Allah gives you is not the solution to the problem, but a new lens to see what you already have. Because sometimes the answer to your dua is not in something arriving, it's in something awakening inside of you. It's in suddenly realizing you're breathing, you're safe, you're loved. You have food, you have salah, you have one more chance to whisper, Ya Allah. And this time you say it not from panic, but from presence. That shift is huge and it's sacred. Gratitude is not small, it is one of the greatest signs that your soul is being prepared for a greater blessing. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Allah is pleased with his servant when he eats something and thanks him for it, or drinks something and thanks him for it. Sahih Muslim. And he also said, whoever does not thank people has not thanked Allah. Tirmidhi. So if Allah is turning your heart toward thankfulness, toward seeing beauty in the ordinary, toward saying Alhamdulillah in silence, not because something changed, but because you finally noticed, then this is not minor, this is major. Because what's really happening is that Allah is building barakah in you. Before He gives more, He is teaching you how to hold more. He is strengthening your soul so that when the next blessing arrives, you don't take it for granted. You don't become distracted. You don't forget the giver while enjoying the gift. Instead, you become the one who says, Ya Allah, thank you. At the beginning of the blessing, at the peak of the blessing, and even when the blessing fades. That kind of heart, that kind of gratitude, that is a gift greater than the blessing itself. And sometimes that is the answer to your dua. Not a thing, not a person, not a result, but a transformation. Because when you can say Alhamdulillah with tears in your eyes, not from gain but from contentment, you've already received something priceless. So if lately you find joy in the taste of warm soup, you smile when you hear birds at dawn, you feel your eyes water from a single ayah in the Quran, you feel something shift in your heart when someone says, May Allah bless you, then know this. This is not emotional, it's spiritual. It's Allah answering you from the inside out, quietly, gently, beautifully, before your hands are filled. He's filling your heart, and a grateful heart is one of the greatest signs that Allah has already started giving you more than you even asked for. You feel a quiet pull toward Allah, and you can't explain why. You've been making dua, not once, not twice, but over and over again, in sujood, in tears, in silence. You've been asking for something to change, something to move, something to heal, and maybe, just maybe, you thought the answer would come wrapped in something external, a new job, a person, a message, a miracle. But instead, something else happened. It didn't come with noise. It didn't announce itself with lightning or a loud yes. It came quietly, softly, gently, inside of you. You started feeling it first in the stillness. A moment of pause in the middle of chaos, a tear that slipped out when you heard a verse, a whisper in your heart that said, come back. You started waking up for Fajr, not because you had to, but because you wanted to, because sleep felt heavy when you hadn't bowed your head yet. You started turning down things you once chased, the noise, the scrolling, the distractions. Not because you lost interest in life, but because you found something better, peace. And not the peace that comes from everything going your way, but the peace that comes from finally facing the right direction. You used to ask Allah to fix what was around you, but now, without even realizing it, He's fixing what's inside you. You read the Quran, and it's not just words anymore. It's medicine. Every verse feels like it was sent just for you. Every ayah finds you in the places you didn't know needed healing. You cry in sujood, but this time your tears don't say, "I'm broken." They say, "I'm home." You sit longer in your prayer, not rushing, not reciting like a task to finish, but feeling, breathing, being. Because now, the one thing you can't walk away from is Allah. And that's the beauty of it. Nothing else has changed. Your problems are still there. You're still waiting, still hoping. But your soul is no longer starving. It's no longer gasping for air from people, places, and praise, because it has found the only source that never runs dry, Allah. And now you want more of Him, not just on Friday, not just during hardship, but all the time, in the quiet, in the ordinary, in your walking, sitting, breathing life. That is not an accident. It's not a mood. It's not something small. That is your dua being answered. You asked for peace, and Allah gave you nearness. You asked for clarity, and He gave you Quran. You asked for strength, and He gave you sujood. Sometimes we expect the answer to our dua to look like a change in our situation. But Allah is too kind to only change what's around you. He begins with changing you. He begins with your heart, with your eyes, with your love. He makes dunya feel less heavy and makes Salah feel like home. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when Allah loves a servant, He calls Jibril and says, "I love so-and-so, so love him." Then Jibril loves him and calls out to the inhabitants of the heavens, "Allah loves so-and-so, so love him." Then the people of the heavens love Him, and acceptance is placed for Him on earth. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. So when you feel that subtle shift, that growing desire to repent, to seek forgiveness and to draw close, know that it's not from you, it's from Him. It's a calling, it's love, it's Allah pulling you near because He wants you close. And when Allah wants you close, He doesn't wait for you to be perfect. He doesn't wait for your life to be in order. He just invites you right as you are, flawed, tired, hurting, hopeful. He opens a door you didn't even know was there, and suddenly the things that once distracted you feel meaningless. The sins that once entertained you feel bitter. The company that once fed your ego feels empty. And all you want now is to be loved by Him. So if you're crying for no reason, if your heart aches during Quran, if you find yourself whispering His name at random moments, if you've been pulled to Salah again, even though life hasn't improved, you start letting go of control and trusting the unknown. You used to believe that you had to figure everything out on your own, that unless you had a clear plan, a clear timeline, and every step made sense, your dua wasn't working. When life didn't go the way you imagined, you felt anxious. Every delay made you think you were doing something wrong. Every closed door felt like a punishment. You kept asking, why hasn't it happened yet? And what am I missing? Your mind would stay awake at night trying to fix things. Your heart was tired from all the overthinking. You wanted control so badly just to feel safe. You thought that by knowing what's coming next, you could protect yourself from pain, but all that control only made you more restless. Now something is changing inside you. You still don't have all the answers. The problems are not all solved. The dua is still open, but your heart doesn't feel the same. The tightness has softened. The panic has calmed. You find yourself saying, "Ya Allah, I leave it to you," and truly meaning it. You feel a strange kind of peace, not because you know what's coming, but because you trust who is guiding you. That peace is not a coincidence. It's not from giving up. It's from surrendering to the one who has always had a better plan. It's from knowing that Allah never wastes your tears, your waiting, or your silence. It's from realizing that even when things don't make sense, His wisdom is still working behind the scenes. Tawakkul is not closing your eyes and hoping for the best. Tawakkul is opening your heart and knowing that whatever comes, good or bad, Allah is still with you. He's still writing your story. He's still holding your heart. When you truly believe that, something shifts inside you. You stop fighting the uncertainty. You stop needing control. You stop measuring your faith by how much you know and start measuring it by how much you trust. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "If you put your trust completely in Allah, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They leave hungry in the morning and return full in the evening." Tirmidhi. That kind of trust doesn't remove difficulty, but it removes the fear that comes with it. Because even when the road is dark, you know who's walking with you. You know who's carrying your dua to the right time. You may still cry. You may still struggle, but deep down, you've stopped trying to force things. And in that moment of letting go, you've actually received one of the most beautiful answers to your prayer. Not a result, not a yes or no, but a heart that finally feels safe in the unknown. A heart that whispers, "Even if I don't know the way, Allah does." And that is enough. Your heart is more sensitive to right and wrong. Before, your heart felt numb. You could say things that hurt others and move on like it didn't matter. You could miss Salah and feel no guilt. You could backbite, waste time, fall into sin without even a pause. Wrong felt normal, and right felt distant. You were alive, but your soul was sleeping. But now, something is different. You catch yourself before saying something harsh. You stop scrolling when the content feels off. You feel a sharp sting in your heart after a lie, after a missed prayer, after a moment of heedlessness. And suddenly, you're whispering, "Astaghfirullah." Not because someone told you to, but because you feel it inside. A quiet pain, a regret, a pull to clean your heart before the stain spreads. That feeling is not weakness. It's not overthinking. It's not being too sensitive. It's a response from Allah, a sign that your heart is waking up, that He is answering your dua, not by making you perfect, but by making you aware of what harms your soul, aware of what pulls you away, aware of what pulls you closer. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "When the believer commits a sin, a black spot appears on his heart. If he repents, seeks forgiveness, and turns back, the heart is polished clean. But if he continues, the blackness increases." Tirmidhi. So that little ache you feel after a slip, that's Allah calling you back. That's your soul refusing to stay in darkness. That's your fitrah, your pure nature, pushing to return to its Lord. It's a sign your dua for forgiveness is working, not by removing sin completely, because we all make mistakes, but by making sin harder to enjoy, by making wrong feel heavy, by making righteousness feel lighter, sweeter, more natural. You asked to get closer to Allah, you asked to become better, so He responded, not by giving you wings, but by softening your heart, by giving you the kind of heart that trembles at the thought of hurting others, missing prayers, or disappointing your Creator. A soft heart is not a small thing. It's one of the most powerful signs that your dua is being answered. Because only a heart that feels can truly return to Allah. Only a heart that feels pain can heal. You feel a desire to serve others, quietly. You once prayed for a purpose, for something meaningful. You didn't want to just survive. You wanted to matter. You asked Allah to heal you, to guide you, to help you find your place in this world. And now something has shifted inside you, quietly, without announcement. You've started thinking about others more. You've begun caring about someone else's pain, even when yours hasn't fully gone away. You feel a soft pull to do something good, even if no one sees it. You help someone and don't tell a soul. You make a silent dua for someone who hurt you. You give something small and say, "Ya Allah, accept it." You find joy in giving more than in receiving. And the strange part, it feels right. It feels healing. It feels like something inside you is being fed, even as you give away what you have. That desire to serve others without being seen, that's not just a good habit. That's Allah transforming your heart. That's Him turning your pain into purpose. That's Him answering your dua not by giving you something shiny, but by turning you into someone useful. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Allah helps His servant as long as the servant helps his brother." Sahih Muslim. So if you feel that quiet urge to check on someone, to feed someone, to smile, to support, to show up even when no one asks, know that this is not from nowhere. This is an answer. This is Allah using you, honoring you, elevating you by allowing you to serve. You asked to feel loved, and He made you a source of love. You asked to be seen, and He made you the one who sees others. You asked for healing, and He gave you healing hands to place on someone else's wounds. And in that process, your heart gets stronger, your soul gets richer. Your dua is answered not just through what you get, but through who you become. Because when Allah wants to raise you, He gives you quiet opportunities to give, to care, to serve, even in the smallest ways. And those moments, the ones no one claps for, no one posts about, no one praises, they are written with light. They are your answer. They are your reward. They are proof that Allah didn't just hear your dua, He trusted you enough to make you part of someone else's. So if you've been wondering whether your dua is being answered, if you've been waiting for a clear sign, a big change, a miracle wrapped in light, look again, not outward, but inward. Because sometimes the most beautiful answers from Allah are not loud. They don't come with fireworks. They don't come with sudden success or instant relief. Sometimes they come as a shift in your heart, as tears you can't explain, as moments of sujood that feel like home, as silence that feels safe, as a heart that feels soft again after being so hard for so long. You asked Allah for peace, and now your heart doesn't shake like it used to. You asked Him for strength, and now you can walk away from what you once begged for. You asked Him for closeness, and now you hear His name and your eyes fill with tears. These are not small things. These are not emotions you should ignore or brush away. They are answers. They are gifts. They are signs that your soul is being cleaned, guided, rebuilt. And when Allah begins to change you before He changes your life, that is one of the most loving responses of all, because He's not just fixing the problem, He's preparing you for what's next. He's building your heart to hold the blessing you asked for. So don't think your dua is lost. Don't think your whisper in the night was unheard. Don't think your silence in sujood was empty. Every tear was recorded. Every tremble was seen. Every moment you turned to Allah was a moment He turned to you. Even if nothing around you has changed yet, if your soul feels different, if your heart feels softer, if your mind feels clearer, then something has changed. And that change may be the beginning of everything you've been waiting for. So stay close, keep praying, keep trusting, because you are not being ignored, you are being guided, and sometimes the softest path leads to the loudest miracles.